Discover the hidden, heartwarming journey of Consuelo Vanderbilt, a life-changing heiress exposed. At just 21, Consuelo Vanderbilt felt like a gilded cage adorned with silken pearls. The parties sparkled with the laughter of the wealthy elite, bright Broadway lights casting shadows that swallowed every longing of her heart. Gowned in the finest attire, she was paraded through lavish galas, a trophy of high society, but beneath her radiant exterior, Consuelo longed for something deeper, something genuine. With each beat of laughter echoing around her, she found solace in her childhood sketches, simple images of freedom, blooming flowers, and childish joy. Wasn't that a truer expression of happiness than any diamond-studded necklace? The pressure from her powerful family to marry a suitable suitor loomed heavier with every passing day, chaining her closer to a life she didn't choose. One gloomy afternoon, her heart heavy with unfulfillment, Consuelo wandered aimlessly through Central Park, seeking an escape from the suffocating expectations. That's where she met Gabriel, a passionate artist one step from poverty, his paintbrush swirling colors that sang a hopeful tune. Their eyes met amid the chaos of the park, and it was as if all the burdens lifted for a breath. Gabriel saw life in a way Consuelo never had: vivid, messy, alive. In his humble studio, filled with the scent of linseed oil, they would share dreams and sketches, her laughter mingling with the gentle strokes on canvas. Each rendezvous ignited a flame in her soul, illuminating hopes she kept hidden. But a brewing storm loomed over her world, as dark clouds gathered stronger than any echoing laugh at her father's galas. Then came the flood, disastrous, furious, as if nature herself were protesting against the very foundations of greed and privilege. What was once a picture-perfect neighborhood transformed into a chaotic sea of debris and despair. In that moment of destruction, Consuelo found her purpose. She organized rescue efforts, rallied her community, and stretched her hands to those less fortunate. With every act of kindness, she began to shed the chains of her past, a metamorphosis into something more alive, more real. Her empathy surged like spring flowers breaking through snow, redefining her understanding of wealth and connection. But as her bond with Gabriel deepened, her family stirred with outrage. The stakes grew higher when they announced her engagement to a wealthy suitor, a union polished for social prestige. That evening, Consuelo stood amidst the clinking glasses and hushed whispers, her heart caught between familial love and the fierce fire that burned for Gabriel. Each suffocating moment tightened around her chest, drawing her closer to the precipice of her decision. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The moment arrived at a town meeting where the air pulsed with collective anticipation. Faces from her past and present turned toward her, each pair of eyes waiting for the truth she had scarcely acknowledged herself. As she stood at the forefront, trembling yet alive with a new fervor, her words cracked through the silence. "What is the price of happiness?" she called out, her voice both bold and vulnerable. The weight of her life stood before the community. In that breathless moment, she felt transformation linger in the air, a life encased in diamonds or the brilliance of love and purpose. With Gabriel's hopeful gaze locking onto hers, reality tantalized her fingertips. The tension in the room swelled, patiently waiting for her answer as Consuelo grappled with what lay before her. Would she smile for the camera or break free into the vivid world around her? The silence felt thick, like a heavy blanket wrapping around Consuelo. Her heart raced, each beat pounding with the weight of expectations that had followed her all her life. She glanced at her family. Her mother's face was a mask of disapproval, her father's eyes darting with irritation. They had crafted this engagement as if it were the centerpiece of a grand exhibition, a display of power and prestige. But what did it matter to her now? She turned back to Gabriel, who stood at the edge of the crowd, his expression a mix of hope and trepidation. It was a flash of color against the dull grays of her reality, a reminder of the warmth they had shared in their stolen moments. In him, she saw a future that sparkled not with jewels, but with authenticity. What is the price of happiness? She echoed in her mind, wrestling with the question that seemed to hang in the air. The murmurs from the crowd buzzed like angry bees, each whisper eroding her confidence. Consuelo, darling, her mother finally broke the silence, her voice syrupy sweet but laced with authority. You understand the importance of this union, don't you? It's what's best for our family. The sharpness of her mother's words sliced through the air, leaving Consuelo feeling exposed. Her heart sank, but it was mixed with an unexpected surge of resilience. Wasn't happiness worth the risk? Wasn't that flame ignited within her more precious than any societal approval? No, she breathed, so quietly that she feared no one would hear. But the words were right there, swelling in her chest, demanding release. Each face around her shifted, eyes widening in surprise as she steadied herself, the rhythm of her heart now matched by newfound determination. No, it's not what I want. Gasps erupted like popcorn popping. Sinking her nails into the palms of her hands, Consuelo felt each heartbeat as a drum call to her own liberation. I am so much more than what you have envisioned. I want to build, not just sit. The crowd murmured, a mix of confusion and intrigue swirling around. She glanced back at Gabriel, who looked renewed, hope flickering back to life in his eyes. This moment was everything: the beginning of a journey they would take together or the end of a chapter penned by others. But Consuelo, her father, interjected, trying to regain control. Think of your position, your legacy. My legacy? She shot back, voice strong. Is it just wealth amassed or a life truly lived? I want a legacy of love, of real connection. I will not choose this path for the sake of appearance. With that declaration, Consuelo realized she could either return to the safety of her gilded cage or embrace the unknown, where vulnerability lived alongside freedom. The choice felt immense, like standing at the edge of a beautiful, terrifying cliff. This was her moment. What would they think? Gossip? Scandal? She felt the fear grip her for a moment, but layered atop it was a thrill she had never experienced. The crowd leaned in, holding its collective breath. Then, Gabriel stepped forward, his voice steady as he spoke to her. Consuelo, whatever you decide, know that I'm here. You are never alone. His words wrapped around her like a warm embrace, anchoring her amid the swirling chaos. In that instant, understanding dawned. This wasn't just about her choice, it was about the life she wished to craft, a life filled with love and filled with purpose. As she stood at that crossroads, the world around her faded. The laughter, the whispers, and the expectations blurred into the backdrop of her mind. With every ounce of courage and conviction, she took a step forward, but even as she felt the solid ground beneath her feet, the question loomed large: could she really forge her path? And what price would she ultimately pay for the pursuit of happiness? The flicker of uncertainty raced within her heart, setting the stage for an even deeper transformation in the chapters to come. Consuelo wouldn't just fight for her happiness, she would have to fight to redefine it. Consuelo felt the weight of eyes upon her, but it was no longer a heavy shroud. No, it had shifted to something lighter, almost exhilarating. With every breath she took, a fire ignited within her. It was as if she had opened a long-locked door, and fresh air rushed in, filling her with newfound energy. Taking a deep breath, she turned back to her family. Her mother's expression was a valley of disbelief, while her father's brows furrowed deeper, perhaps contemplating the fallout of this unexpected rebellion. You can't just throw it all away. All we've worked for. Think of your future. Her father barked, his voice a reverberation of years of expectations. Think of my future? She shot back, growing bolder with each word. My future is not yours to manipulate. It's mine to shape. I can't pretend to be someone I'm not. I refuse to build a life based on your dreams. Gabriel stepped closer, his eyes reflecting a protective warmth. Consuelo, let us leave, he offered, his voice low and filled with urgency. If this crowd won't support you, we'll find our path elsewhere. Her heart fluttered at the thought. The idea of running away painted vivid images in her mind, a life where she could explore the world beyond the stifling expectations, where she could paint her own canvas. Yet, even as desire surged within her, a flicker of doubt crept in. What if they fell flat on their faces? What if this was all a mistake? Could she really step away from everything she had known, trade the comforts for uncertainty? It was like the plot of a novel, full of wondrous potential, but daunting in execution. The hushed crowd ignited with whispers again, curiosity sparkling in their eyes. Some were intrigued, others looked disapproving. "She's lost her mind," a woman muttered. "Has she forgotten who she is?" But that gave her strength. Consuelo realized her identity wasn't just a label or an asset, it was alive and pulsing, begging to be unwrapped, cherished, and explored. "Maybe it's time I did forget," she murmured, almost to herself. The energy of the room shifted. People began to shift, some leaving, some deciding to stay. Each person wrestled with what this meant for them. Some might despise her for what she had chosen, but others? They might just find inspiration. Feeling a rush of gratitude, she squeezed Gabriel's hand. His warmth was more energizing than any reassurance she'd receive from her family. Together, they were stronger. "I want to travel," she announced, her voice steadying. "I want to see everything the world has to offer. I want an adventure, not just existence." The crowd fell silent, as if holding its breath a moment longer. The quiet felt sacred. In that slice of time, Consuelo saw the faces of her family soften, just a little. The tension didn't evaporate, but it shifted. They stood at the precipice, on the edge of understanding. As the murmuring swelled again, mixed with some cheers and disbelief, Consuelo felt a surge of hope. Finally, a clarity washed over her. This was just the beginning. She recognized now that her journey was more than just forging her own path, it was reawakening the true spirit of those who shared her world. But just as hope blossomed within her, doubt clawed at the edges of her mind. What if returning home meant facing deeper disapproval, isolation? Would her family accept her transformation, or would they choose to bury her under generations of legacy? "Are you ready for what's to come?" Gabriel asked, his expression solemn yet soft. With a resolute nod, Consuelo glanced toward the horizon visible in the distance, shimmering under the sun. "I'm ready," she whispered, her voice stronger than any fear. Her heart raced, not with anxiety but exhilaration about what lay ahead. In that moment, she took a step forward, away from the crowd and toward her destiny. It was frightening, but thrilling too, a taste of true freedom. As she moved into this new chapter, the weight of all she had ever known lightened. Yet a question lingered in the air, as alive as she felt now: would she have the courage to face the shadows of her past? Or would they threaten to pull her back into the life she had fought so hard to escape? The sun hung low, casting golden hues across the landscape as Consuelo and Gabriel took their first steps away from the crowd. Her heart pounded in time with the rhythm of her feet, quick and alive. Each step felt like a declaration, as if the very ground beneath her was affirming her choice. She glanced back momentarily, absorbing the scene, her family's faces a mix of confusion and concern, a swirling cocktail of emotions playing out like a tense drama. "Where do we even go now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Gabriel tightened his grip on her hand, a soft smile breaking through the tension of the last moments. "Anywhere that feels right. The world is our canvas now, remember?" She nodded, hope lighting a spark within her. They continued walking, the path winding gently away from familiar streets and into the uncharted. Thoughts rushed through her like a river, full of possibilities and uncertainties. Where would they sleep tonight? What would they eat? Most importantly, would her family eventually understand her need to break free? As they strolled further into the unknown, her imagination roamed wild with aspirations pulled from the depths of her heart. The bustling streets of Paris, with their charming cafes and artists lining the sidewalks, the vast deserts of Arizona, where every sunset painted a masterpiece across the sky, the quiet beaches of Thailand, where she could rise each day to the sound of waves and adventure. It was intoxicating. "You look lost in thought," Gabriel teased gently as they paused to catch their breath by a small park. The gentle rustle of leaves accompanied his words, a perfect backdrop to this unfolding narrative. "I am," she admitted, laughing softly. "It just hit me, I've planned my life around everyone else for so long. What if I get it all wrong?" Gabriel stepped closer, guiding her chin up to meet his gaze. "And what if you get it all right? What if we create something beautiful together? We've got our youth, our passion. That's what matters." His words lingered in the air, a melodic promise of hope. Consuelo took a deep breath, letting the fear seep out like steam from a kettle. "I want to do this," she said firmly. "I want the world to see me, not the version of me they want. I want to be free." With a sudden burst of determination, she swung around, staring at the people and the life she was leaving behind. She noted the vibrant colors of the park flowers, the joyful laughter of children playing, and the distant sounds of music filtering from a nearby cafe. It was all so vibrant, yet it was straining beneath the weight of expectation, her expectation, but as the daylight faded, she felt the shadows drawing near. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, jolting her with the tension of real life intruding upon her newfound liberation. It was her mother. "Consuelo, please, it's not too late to turn back. We can talk. Just come home." The warmth of the moment faded, leaving an icy sting in its wake. Her heart sank as she stared at the screen. Decision time. She could either succumb to the familiar pull, or she could embrace the uncertainty that lay ahead, like the unknown of a thrilling story begging to be written. "Do you want to answer?" Gabriel asked, expression unreadable as he paced a few steps away, sensing her turmoil. "No," she said finally, resolving to silence the fears she had carried for too long. "I'm ready for all of it. I have to be." With that, she switched off her phone and placed it back in her pocket, leaving her past attempts to tether her behind. Gabriel joined her side, and together they faced the horizon, where the last rays of sunlight painted the sky in brilliant shades of red and orange. "I have a feeling this is the start of something incredible," he said softly. "Me too," she replied, feeling lighter than air. But as they moved onward, the nagging question lingered: could they truly withstand the storm of repercussions that might come from their bold leap into the unknown? The path ahead was beckoning, but with every step she took, shadows whispered behind her, urging her to look back. Would she have the strength to keep moving forward when the past threatened to manifest? Only time will tell. The stars began to twinkle above them, small diamonds scattered across the indigo canvas of the night sky. Consuelo felt a sense of peace wash over her, a calm that echoed like a gentle lullaby. They walked hand in hand, with soft murmurs of the city wrapping around them like a warm blanket. The laughter and music from the park faded into the background, replaced by the sound of their own footsteps echoing their determination. As they turned the corner, a new street came into view, brightly lit by neon signs and dotted with food trucks that promised exotic flavors. The aroma of spices and grilled meats danced in the air, teasing their senses and inviting them to explore. "Let us grab a bite," Gabriel suggested, eyes sparkling with excitement. Consuelo nodded, a smile breaking across her face. She had never felt so alive, so free to make choices on a whim. They approached a food truck selling tacos, colorful and inviting. Consuelo glanced at the menu, mind racing with possibilities. She chose a spicy fish taco, a burst of flavor she had never dared to try before. Gabriel opted for a classic carne asada. As they waited, they chatted with the friendly vendor, tasting samples and sharing laughs through their newfound freedom. The vendor's warmth reminded Consuelo of the welcoming spirit of people she had been missing out on. Being stuck in her comfort zone for so long, with tacos in hand, they strolled to a park bench nearby. The cool metal felt good beneath her, and for a moment everything else faded away: the expectations, the fears, the shadows that chased them. "This is amazing," Consuelo exclaimed, taking a bite. The flavors exploded in her mouth, a delightful chaos that felt symbolic of this new chapter in her life. I could get used to this, Gabriel said, savoring his taco too. Their laughter blended with the sounds around them, forming a symphony of joyful chaos, but as the sun dipped completely below the horizon, a weight settled inside Consuelo's chest. What if they can't understand why I left? She pondered aloud, the glimmer of joy slightly dimmed. What if they never forgive me? Gabriel turned serious, his eyes softening as he held her gaze. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your happiness. You deserve to seek your truth, just as they seek theirs. His words wrapped around her like an embrace, but uncertainty still lingered. Their conversation shifted to dreams and aspirations, each revelation opening new doors in Consuelo's mind. They spoke of travel, art, and the lives they wanted to impact. Gabriel's enthusiasm was infectious, and with every word, every shared dream, Consuelo felt a tiny piece of her old self breaking free. Yet, as the moon climbed higher, an unsettling thought crept into her mind. What if the price of this freedom was isolation? Would she find herself more alone than ever? The crunching of a taco husk jolted her back to reality. Gabriel had just finished his meal, and he looked at her, eyes twinkling with mischief. What's next on this adventure? Dancing in the streets? Finding a hidden rooftop bar? His playful spirit made her laugh, but deep inside, she grappled with her internal battle. I don't know. What if there's something waiting for us that's even better? She replied, testing the waters of her own adventurous spirit. Gabriel leaned closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. How about we follow this road and find out? With the night young and possibility glimmering like stars above them, Consuelo looked at the path ahead. What would they uncover in this vast, dazzling world together? As they stood, ready to step forward, a flicker of doubt slithered back in her mind. What if there was more waiting in the shadows than she could ever imagine? But one thing was certain, as long as they faced the unknown together, the journey was bound to be extraordinary. With their hearts racing for yet another adventure, they took the first step down the new street, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. What hidden treasure of truth would they discover in the coming days? The vibrant lights of the street wrapped around them like a hug as Consuelo and Gabriel stepped forward. The laughter and sounds of the city pulsed around them with an exhilarating energy that tugged at her heart. Let us go that way, Gabriel exclaimed, pointing down a narrow alley adorned with flickering lanterns. As they walked, the air filled with the warmth of spices and fried dough, tempting them toward a small festival that had sprung up along the path. Music floated through the night, a joyful blend that made her want to sway, to lose herself in the moment. This is unbelievable, Consuelo breathed, glancing at Gabriel, whose eyes mirrored her excitement. What's the worst that could happen? Gabriel said, his grin wide and inviting. Let us go dance. Before she could think of anything holding her back, he caught her hand and pulled her toward a small clearing where others were twirling and laughing. The rhythm of the music wrapped around them as people danced with vigor, celebrating the simple joy of the moment. Consuelo could feel her heart racing, a whirlwind of exhilaration flooding her senses. She let go of the fear that had been holding her back, allowing herself to join the crowd. In merely a few moments, she was lost in rhythm, laughing, and spinning under the stars. It felt liberating, like stepping from the shadows into a brilliant spotlight where her worries evaporated. See? You're a natural. Gabriel laughed, spinning her around. For once, she felt weightless. It was as if the moment had peeled back layers of uncertainty, revealing a woman hungry for life rather than defined by it. But as she danced freely, a flicker of hesitation brushed against her thoughts. Would these new friendships hold? How would she fit into this vibrant energy beyond tonight? What's going on in that head of yours? Gabriel shouted, his face a mix of concern and joy as they paused to catch their breath. She studied his face, grounding herself in the reality that they were side by side, navigating this thrilling venture together. What if I can't keep this up? What if my past pulls me back in? Her voice trembled slightly, but Gabriel's hand held hers firmly, a promise of support pulsing between them. That's exactly why we're here, right? To find out what's next? He replied, brushing off her worries with a smile that glowed in the soft light around them. You're not alone in this, Consuelo. We can figure it out together. Just then, a street performer caught their attention, drawing a small crowd. The performer, a juggler with a flair for the dramatic, began to toss torches in the air, mesmerizing onlookers with precise movements. Consuelo found herself laughing again, the contagious energy of the crowd filling the void of uncertainty. Imagine if we could live like him, she said to Gabriel, nodding toward the performer. So fearless and free. They watched for a moment, their breaths matching the rhythm of the juggling, each twist and turn reflecting Consuelo's own liberating journey. Suddenly, as if sensing their energy, the juggler made eye contact with Consuelo and threw a torch toward her. Time seemed to freeze. She instinctively stepped back. Gabriel highlighted her invisible tether to the past that she was still wrestling with. You've got this. Don't let fear pull you down, he urged, his eyes encouraging her to embrace the challenge. With her heart pounding in her chest, Consuelo took a step forward, extending her hands. Would she grasp the torch of opportunity or let it slip away? Caught between fear and a chance to move forward, the moment hung heavily in the air, ripe with potential. Would she catch the torch, or would she let doubt extinguish the spark, and then would she ever truly be free of her past, or were those chains destined to linger, even in her newfound adventure? The world around Consuelo faded away as she locked eyes with the fire dancer. Her heart raced, feeling both thrill and fear wrestling within her. The torch spun in the air, a bright comet cutting through the darkness, and she could hear her heartbeat echoing with the drum-like rhythm of the vibrant festival. Just breathe, she whispered to herself, trying to steady her trembling hands. The audience around her buzzed with expectation. She felt the weight of their gazes, urging her to act. As the torch arced closer, Gabriel's voice broke through her bubble of anxiety. Catch it. You can do this. His belief ignited a flicker of courage within her. The torch was not just a fire, it was a symbol, a challenge to embrace the unknown. With a rush of adrenaline, she stepped forward, extending her arms wide, determined not to let fear dictate her path any longer. The torch sailed through the air like a vibrant sunbeam, and for a brief moment everything felt suspended. Time stretched out, giving her a glimpse of both potential and risk, and then, she caught it. The fiery torch landed solidly in her hands, the heat radiating against her palm. Gasps erupted from the crowd, punctuated by applause that swirled around her like confetti. She flashed a smile at Gabriel, who was practically bouncing on his toes with excitement, his own joy reflected in his sparkling eyes. I did it. She laughed, the thrill of accomplishment washing away her prior doubts. But as the initial high faded, her eyes darted down to the flickering flames. The heat reminded her of her past, one that was often too consuming, leaving scars that sometimes flared up just beneath the surface. Now what? She thought, her moment of triumph coming with a heavy question. As she faced the crowd, a rush of realization swept over her. She didn't want to just stand there, she wanted to do something with this moment. Inspired by the juggler, she began to spin the torch, feeling the dance of the flames as she swooshed her arms, integrating the warmth into her spirit. The crowd erupted into cheers, and for the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, she was meant for this, a life filled with dance, laughter, and a chance to rewrite her story. Look at you go! Gabriel shouted, pride pouring from his voice, and she felt bolstered by his encouragement. But then, a shadow fell across her enthusiasm, a sudden rush of anxiety gripped her heart. What if she lost control? What if the fire turned against her, just as her past had? Gabriel, what if I can't keep this up? She murmured, her smile faltering as uncertainty clawed at her. The fear of being consumed by the flames was not so different from the fears that had held her back all these years. You've already caught the torch, Consuelo. You're not just a spectator anymore, you're in control, he replied, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. It anchored her, reminding her that she was not alone in this. With one last glance at the dancers swirling around her, Consuelo steeled herself. She could feel the fire within her growing, pushing her towards something greater. She took a deep breath and prepared to move. Just as she began to spin and twirl, losing herself in the rhythm, she spotted the juggler again in the corner of her eye. He nodded at her, as if to say, "Now it's your turn to shine." In that moment, Consuelo felt the tether of her past dissolving. But would she fully embrace the dance, or falter again with the weight of her anxieties? As the torch glowed fiercely in her hands, illuminating the path ahead, she realized she was on the brink of something life-changing. Everything was about to shift, but she needed to decide, would the flames of her past continue to hold her back, or would she transform the heat into her guiding light? And as her heart raced, so did the rhythm of the music. What would she choose? Consuelo took a breath, grounding herself in the moment. The warmth of the torch felt electric against her skin, merging with every beat of her heart. She wasn't just holding fire, she was holding her transformation, her freedom, a vibrant beacon of who she had the potential to become. Around her, the drums pulsed louder, adding fuel to her burgeoning confidence. Every clap, every cheer from the crowd surged through her, wrapping around her like the embrace of a loved one. She felt alive, adventurous. And for once, she wasn't just surviving but truly thriving. With a twirl, she let the torch dance, the flames swirling around her in a spectacular arc. Everything else melted away, her doubts, her fears, all the scars that had once felt like shackles. She was moving, not just as a participant, but as the star of the show. "This is my moment," she thought, her smile wider than ever as she caught another glance from Gabriel, who mirrored her joy in an infectious way, but then, it came a sudden wind, sharp and uninvited. It swept through the festival, flickering out other torches, sending a wave of worry resonating through the crowd. Consuelo's breath hitched as the flames on her torch wavered dangerously. She felt the heat edging closer to her skin, threatening to consume her. What if it all goes wrong? The thought spiraled in her mind, a reminder of how fragile this new joy was. Panic gripped her stomach, turning the thrill into something cold and biting. What if I can't control it? The audience went still, holding its collective breath. She could feel their eyes on her, the same anticipation morphing into hesitation. It was suffocating. "Just focus," she whispered, trying to reignite her inner fire. Gabriel's cheering broke the tension, but doubt lingered like smoke in the air. "Trust the flame, Consuelo. It's part of you." His voice broke through the haze, pulling her back from the edge of despair. With no time to waste, she shook off the fear, choosing to dance instead of freeze. She swayed, the torch alight in a dazzling performance. With each spin, she redirected the worry, channeling it into grace. The heat became a rhythm, and she began to weave her essence into the flames. Her fears transformed into a beautiful ballet of fire. Applause erupted again from the crowd, loud and invigorating. The fire rippled around her, almost singing along with every movement. Consuelo felt a rush of empowerment swell inside her. She was not just dancing, she was exorcising the shadows of her past, claiming her space in the world. Yet as the crowd roared, a flicker of doubt still burned in the corner of her heart. Will this last? She thought with unease. Will I lose this, too? Then, just when she felt like she might falter, she locked eyes with the juggler again. Each throw, each catch sent ripples of momentum cascading through her. He smiled, and in that simple connection, she felt the weight of her journey behind her, anchoring her in the moment. As the final notes played, she concluded her performance with one last flourish, extinguishing the torch with a twirl and a leap. The crowd burst into applause, but even through the deafening roar, she felt a new question niggling at her heart: what happens after the performance is over? What awaited her when the light dimmed and the festival ended? In that moment, Consuelo realized with wide-open heart that this was just the beginning. The fire might have flickered before, but now it was glowing brighter than ever. And she wanted to explore its undiscovered depths. But stepping beyond this radiant moment, would she have the courage? Would she continue to dance? As the final applause faded, Consuelo stood on that stage, her heart still racing, the echoes of the drums reverberating through her body. The bright lights began to dim, but the warmth inside her lingered, just like the heat from the torch. She had been transformed, but now the reality of what lay ahead crept into her consciousness. The festival grounds, now buzzing with excitement and chatter, felt like a dream world fading into twilight. Consuelo stared into the faces surrounding her. Laughter bubbled, and friends hugged, but she couldn't shake the intensity of her own thoughts. She had danced through doubt, fear, and triumph. But now? Now, when the crowd dispersed and the torches were extinguished, she faced her true self raw and exposed. Gabriel wove his way through the crowd toward her, his smile brightening the dimming evening. "You were amazing," he exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with admiration. "I could feel you up there, alive in every move." "Thank you," she managed to say, trembling slightly as the post-performance adrenaline faded. "But it's not just about the dance, is it? What am I supposed to do now?" He looked at her quizzically, and she could see concern etching his features. "What do you mean?" "I mean, was this just a moment? Will I still feel this way tomorrow? When the music stops, when everyone goes home?" Her voice cracked slightly, the vulnerability surfacing like a delicate bubble ready to burst. Gabriel stepped closer, his eyes searching hers. "You have to keep dancing, Consuelo. Your performance has just shown you what you're capable of. The world outside this festival is waiting for you to shine." "But what if I can't?" Consuelo's heart pounded in her chest. "What if I end up falling back into the shadows?" A flicker of determination sparked in Gabriel's gaze. "You've already taken the first step. Don't let fear take over now. Find ways to keep this fire alive." Consuelo took a deep breath, considering his words. What if? The question pulsed within her, inviting exploration rather than retreat. She thought about the juggler, about how fluidly he moved, juggling his fears and aspirations effortlessly. Maybe she could balance her own active life in the same way, but just as those thoughts began to bloom, her gaze swept across the festival grounds. Families were packing up belongings, friends gathered in tight circles to share the highlight moments of their night, and the air was filled with the scent of lingering smoke and laughter. It was beautiful, yet she felt a sudden pang of isolation. "And what if I choose to dance alone?" she murmured. Gabriel caught on quickly. "You won't be alone. You have all of us cheering you on. It's about connection. You can choose to take this fire and connect with a world beyond what you see right now." The moment hung between them, significant and charged. Consuelo felt hope mingling with apprehension, a space where dreams could take root. But at the same time, doubt gnawed at her, a small voice whispering, "Will it be enough?" As the night deepened, she turned to him, a question hanging at the tip of her tongue. "What if I want to share this dance with others? What if I want to create something new? Do you think would you help me?" His response was immediate, a bright smile breaking across his face. "Absolutely. Let's make something incredible happen together." With agreement settled and unspoken promises, they turned to face the dim sky, sensing the pull of new possibilities. Consuelo's heart surged, pushing back the shadows, the fear turning into a river of enthusiasm for what lay ahead. But just as she felt ready to leap into this new chapter, an unexpected voice called out from behind. "Hey, Consuelo." It was the juggler, still juggling, his playful smile inviting. "You made the fire dance cool, but you know what's better? A flame shared with more than one dancer." Her heart raced at the challenge, the truth in the words stirring something within her. Could she really invite others into her journey? Into her newfound light? As the juggler approached, ready to share his tricks, Consuelo stood on the brink of exploration. The festival behind them faded into the night, but the spark in her heart glowed ever brighter. And just then, the thought blossomed, bursting forth with potential. What if tonight is just a rehearsal for something magnificent to come? Could she really step out of the shadows and into a shared stage of discovery? Would she gather others around this flame, or would she retreat back to solitude? In the days that followed the festival, Consuelo felt alive in ways she never expected. With each sunrise, she was filled with an eagerness to explore everything the world offered: new connections, new adventures, new possibilities. Gabriel became her companion in this vibrant journey, hand in hand as they wove their dreams into reality. Together, they started an arts initiative, a community outreach program that encouraged creativity among kids and adults alike. Every night, they painted, danced, and shared stories. They wanted to inspire others to break free from their own cages, just as Consuelo had. And with each brush stroke, each dance move, Consuelo's heart expanded. One evening, as colorful skies faded into twilight, Consuelo stood in front of a diverse group of people, a sea of faces reflecting anticipation and hope. The laughter of children mingled with the nervous energy of adults seeking expression, much like she had been doing not so long ago. This is what it's all about, she thought, her pulse quickening at the sight of shared joy. What would you like to create today? She asked, her voice ringing out with genuine excitement. Gabriel stood beside her, smiling, full of encouragement. As hands went up and ideas flowed, Consuelo felt the fire in her belly ignite anew. This was the dance she had always wanted from the guests of every age, sketching themes of freedom, writing poems of hope, sculpting their emotions into art. But every exhilarating moment was shadowed by lingering doubt. During quiet hours, when the world felt still, anxiety crept in, whispering that she was only a stone's throw away from her previous life of expectations. Would her family understand? Was she bold enough to continue on this path? One stormy afternoon, those fears materialized in a way she hadn't anticipated. An unexpected call from her mother shattered her tranquility. The disappointment in her mother's voice echoed, each word a reminder of society's expectations that still loomed. Consuelo, I can't believe you're wasting your talents on this nonsense. You need to come home and fulfill your duty. It hurt. Every word hit her squarely in the heart. The familiar grip of shame and obligation threatened to pull her back to a life she had fought to escape. But as she stood in the hallway, Gabriel entered, sensing the storm brewing within her. Consuelo, what's wrong? He asked, his voice steady. I don't know if I can keep going, she admitted, her voice trembling. What if they never accept me? What if he took a step closer, brushing her hand with warmth? You faced your past. You have a choice now. You can choose to turn back, or you can bravely embrace who you are today. Your happiness matters more than anyone else's expectations. His words ignited something profound within her. She grasped onto her heart, realizing that after all this time, it was her essence that needed to thrive, not merely conform to a legacy laid out by others. I want to show them, she declared, her voice gaining strength. I want them to see what I see, the beauty and freedom. Determination surged through her as she conjured up an image of her family witnessing the transformation she had undertaken. Inspired, Consuelo decided to invite her parents to a special showcase, a culmination of her art initiative. I want them to see what I've built, I want them to witness who I've become, she told Gabriel. He nodded, support radiating from him like sunlight. On the day of the showcase, the air was thick with anticipation. Her heart raced as she stood before the gathered crowd, a range of emotions conflicting within her. When Consuelo's family finally arrived, she felt a twinge of nerves, but she stood firm. The light around her was alive as she ushered her guests through a series of art pieces and performances, showcasing not just her work but the essence of her community. At one point, as a child shared a poignant poem about hope, Consuelo stole a glance at her parents. Her mother's eyes glistened, her father's expression melted from disapproval to quiet introspection. A warmth blossomed in her chest. This was their moment of change. As the evening waned, applause rang throughout the room like a heartbeat. But it was the silence from her family that spoke volumes. It was a silence filled with realization, understanding, and the potential for acceptance. Consuelo approached her parents with trepidation. Can you see it? She whispered. This is what freedom looks like. Her mother leaned in, her voice thick with emotion. You've become a light, Consuelo. The warmth of approval enveloped them, Consuelo teetered on the brink of tears as she felt the barriers begin to dissolve. Sometime later, Consuelo and Gabriel stood beneath a starlit sky, reflecting on their journey. "We did it," she said, joy spilling from her lips. "I took the torch, and I didn't let fear hold me back." With a knowing smile, he replied, "And you sparked a fire in so many others. Now it's time to keep dancing." As they embraced, Consuelo felt whole, not just beating against waves of uncertainty but finally learning to ride them. It was more than just a performance, it was a new lease on life forged through connection, creativity, and the courage to be true to her heart. And in that moment, she knew no matter what unfolded in the future, she would keep this flame alive, leading others to their own dance of transformation. So here's the truth. The journey of Consuelo Vanderbilt wasn't just about one heiress finding her way, it was about lighting the way for everyone who dared to dream. Now, it's your moment. Join this journey. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let us create more stories like this. Comment with your feelings about the ending, we want to hear your thoughts. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us inspire the world together.